Harriet Ann Jacobs, a devout and unyielding abolitionist, was born into slavery in the year 1813 in Edenton, North Carolina. Miss Jacobs is considered to be one of the most powerful and influential people of her time. She was a free spirit who used the power of her rhetorical writings as well as her overarching ambition to have her voice heard. Jacobs lived with her mother, Deborah Hornenblau, until her passing in the year 1819. Passing of her mother, along with many other events during her early childhood, shaped her into the woman she was. Many of the contributions that Harriet Jacobs made to society were directly correlated with her ability to overcome adversity. As a young black female growing up in a time period where slavery was widespread, it comes to no surprise that Jacobs was sexually assaulted by her master. Dr. James Norcom was Jacobs' master during her childhood. There are numerous accounts of Norcom assaulting Jacobs. It is believed that these accounts persisted for nearly a decade. Jacobs used her words to fuel her abolitionist views, stating, "My master had law and power on his side. I had a determined will. There is might in each." Jacob's domestic situation became intolerable, and she then proceeded to escape to her grandmother's house in North Carolina, where she lived in the attic for 7 gut-wrenching years. In the year 1842, Jacobs and her family finally reached the North by taking a boat to Philadelphia. In doing so, Jacobs established her resilient and unwavering attitude. She also began to shape her ethos into what we now know. Harriet Jacobs' considerable contribution to the American Anti-Slavery Society was critical to her success as an abolitionist. The society was an abolitionist social order founded by William Lloyd Garrison and Arthur Tappan. By joining the society, Jacobs began to earn valuable credentials during her fight for freedom. Jacobs became much politicized during her time as she helped support the society by speaking to audiences throughout Rochester in an attempt to educate them about the devastating effects of slavery and the abuse of women. Harriet Jacobs wasn't granted her freedom until the year 1852, when a companion of hers bought her freedom. Possibly the greatest achievement of Harriet Jacobs' life was the creation of her book, The Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. Jacobs passionately articulates the accounts of her lifetime, dating all the way back to her early childhood. Her book exemplifies the struggles of being an African American female during the 19th century. Her words speak volumes, and the text seemingly jumps off the page and dives deep into the reader's heart. When he told me that I was made for his use, made to obey his command in everything, that I was nothing but a slave, whose will must and should surrender to his, never before had my puny arm felt half so strong. The passage from her novel, which conveys her relationship with her master, portrays an accurate representation of the things Jacob values the most: pride, dignity, courage, and the pursuit of freedom. Many people believe that Jacob's novel is what set her apart from other abolitionists of her time. Her gritty excerpts and vivid descriptions of her accounts as a slave girl truly shaped her into the abolitionist and artist that we see her as today. Jacobs was the first woman of her time to openly cite and describe her tales of sexual assault and slavery in an attempt to make slave owners around the country seem barbaric and unethical. All of the accounts depicted in Jacobs' novel are factual. She does a great job of using her unique and eloquent writing style to capture the reader's imagination and truly believe even her most radical, seemingly unbelievable events. Reader, my story ends with freedom, not in the usual way, with marriage. I and my children are now free. We are as free from the power of slaveholders as are the white people of the North. Know that, according to my ideas, is not saying a great deal. It is a vast improvement of my condition. This excerpt, along with many others throughout her novel, reveals to the reader that Jacobs was truly a selfless individual. Jacobs' biography was very controversial for many reasons, one being her view of the Christian church and how it played a role in maintaining slavery. Jacobs uses vibrant quotations from her accounts at church and makes it very obvious where she stands when it comes to religion. When the Reverend Mr. Pike came, he gave out the portions he wished them to repeat or respond to. His text was, "Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, and singleness of your heart, as unto Christ. Give strict heed unto my words. You are rebellious sinners. Your hearts are filled with all manner of evil. 'Tis the devil who tempts you. God is angry with you, will surely punish you if you don't forsake your wicked ways. If you disobey your earthly master, you offend your heavenly master." Amy Post was one of the most influential people in Harriet Jacobs' life. Jacobs met Post at the Anti-Slavery Society during a meeting in New York in the year 1849. Post was the first person that told Jacobs she should write about the accounts of her life. Jacobs and Post continued to remain close with one another even after Harriet's novel was published. A private letter from Jacobs to Post reveals many of Harriet's thoughts about her life as well as how she may be perceived by the public. Jacobs also makes it evident that she had no intentions of writing her book in order to make money. I have, my dear friend, striven faithfully to give a true and just account of my own life in slavery. God knows I have tried to do it in a Christian spirit. There are some things that I might have made plainer, I know. Women can whisper her cruel wrongs into the ear of a very dear friend much easier than she can record them for the world to read. I have left nothing out but what I thought. The world might believe that a slave woman was too willing to pour out, that she might gain their sympathies. I ask nothing. I have placed myself before you to be judged as a woman, whether I deserve your pity or contempt. I have another object in view. It is to come to you just as I am a poor slave mother, not to tell you what I have heard, but what I have seen and what I have suffered. And if there's any sympathy to give, let it be given to the thousands of slave mothers that are still in bondage, suffering far more than I have. Let it plead for their helpless children that they may enjoy the same liberties that my children now enjoy. Say anything of me that you have had from a truthful source that you think best. Ask me any questions you like. In regard to the father of my children, I think I have stated all perhaps I did not tell you. That he was a member of Congress. At that time, all of this I have written. I think it would be best for you to begin with our acquaintance and the length of time that I was in your family. You advise about giving the history of my life in slavery. Mention that I lived at service all the while that I was striving to get the book out, but do not say with whom I lived, as I would not use the Willis name, neither would I like to have people think that I was living an idle life, and had got this book out merely to make money. My kind friend, I do not restrict you in anything, for you know far better than I do what to say. I am only too happy to think that I am going to have it from you. Harriet Ann Jacobs is a name that shall never be forgotten. In writing her book and expressing leadership qualities that fall few and far between, she paved the way for future abolitionists. Harriet Jacobs' contributions to the abolition of slavery and the fight for women's freedom will secure her place in history as one of the overall greatest people to ever live.